Good morning, everyone. Before anything, very bullish for ES to break supply. I sent out this TA alert earlier. Very bullish for it to break supply. I also said I was very bullish for 62.76 if we get to around 62.85. Reason for that is it's deep enough into demand where I think demand's going to break. If not, this is a long trade. If I were trading, I would have entered longs already, like a couple candles ago, roughly here, roughly in this area. But great trade. So if you're still trading, looks great. Doesn't mean it's going to work out though, but it is something that I would take. Anyways, I'm going to quickly review this morning's trades. Kind of an interesting morning. I really thought I should have been a lot more green than I was, but I just wasn't. It was an okay green day. I mean, I was green by like two average green trades, 20%, 25% a piece, something like that. But, as far as the pre market analysis is concerned, here's where we were at. If my trading view will load, there we go. First things first, EU, Europe overnight had some major recession signals that made the market dump overnight. Well, I don't know if the US is going to take the opportunity to dip buy. I don't really know anything. I know the big beautiful bill that Trump passed is very stimulating for the stock market. Um, so the stock market is very bullish right now. Fundamentally, it's just bullish. But the Europe thing is our first major bearish catalyst in a bit. So I wasn't really sure if we're going to go down today, if we're going to go up. It's really hard to say. But as far as the pre-market analysis is concerned, what stands out to me the most is this. We barely missed this beautiful pivot at the bottom of this demand, 62.76 on ES. I am bearish for that to break. I don't know when it's going to break, but I'm bearish for it to break eventually. Now, NQ has a lot of pivots, and they may be a little bit hard to see because demand is here. I mean, there's a lot of demand zones right here, which will play a major role in today's trading. But just some more major pivots are like this, and this here. So to start, I am overall bearish for this pivot to hit, but I did say that realistically, I'm not necessarily bearish for it to hit in the first hour. I don't know if it's going to happen. I know that at some point in the future it is going to hit. So if we fall, down to here, I'm going to be in there. But if we go up, that's fine. Just at some point, maybe today, we will do it. And you guys, type in chat. Let me know when ES hits that PT that I gave you guys, because I only see the SPY chart on my Thinkorswim at the moment. It's unfortunate that I'm done trading, but rules are rules, right? So, anyways, as far as the smaller time frames, I do have some nice pivots above. If we do shoot up to like here, despite it being in supply, I'm triggered into a proper long trade, in my case calls, for supply break, right? These pivots. If we fall roughly to here, I'm triggered into puts for this pivot. Basic momentum liquidity analysis as per usual. First candle market open is freaking massive. And it triggered me into QQQ calls. Now keep in mind, I ended up filling QQQ calls at a pretty decent price. Like here, I believe it was like 61 cents maybe. I don't remember. Sorry, I was getting a phone call. But unfortunately, it did put in a selling wick at the end of the candle. Pretty unfortunate. Now, I did enter half size on this trade because I do that with every trade that I'm triggered into on the first candle market open, which isn't many, by the way. I really try not to, but lately, I mean, we've had one red day in the last 5 weeks. I'm not even joking. In the last 5 weeks, we've had one red day. The first hour of market open has been doing fantastic at making it to pivots, strength and weakness analysis, supply and demand analysis, liquidity and momentum analysis, first leg consolidation, second leg, just general patterns as well. All those forms of analysis that I use in my overall probability analysis have been working great, and a lot of those have been triggering at market open. Not a majority of them, but a solid fraction of them. So I did end up entering. The selling wick is an issue. Plus, we're kind of in supply. Plus, it's, the first candle market open. So I did go half size with plans to average down or average up. I almost averaged up here, but I waited for the candle to close. I was planning on averaging up if the selling wick invalidates. Unfortunately, we did end up dropping. And I did average down on this buying wick. I think it was like 45 cents I averaged down on. Hard stop loss was here. It did come back briefly. And I stopped out pretty much right at the beginning of this candle. Now, unfortunately, it was a massive candle, so I didn't get a very good fill. I filled like halfway through this candle. I think I lost about 35% on the trade, full size. So starting off the day with a solid red trade. Was properly triggered in, there was reason to not take the... Honestly, looking at the candle, if that selling wick formed halfway through the candle instead of at the very end of the candle, I would have waited to take those calls. But it just didn't form until the very end of the candle. Right, like I was already buying and the selling wick formed and that's where I filled at. Which is decent because I got an okay fill because of the selling wick, but at the same time, that wasn't a very bullish selling wick. It just so happened to happen in the last 5 seconds of the candle. So I stopped out trade minus 35%, and on this candle, I'm triggered in to puts. I gave you guys that scenario right before market open. If we go up, I go to here. If we go down, I go to here. So I filled puts on both SPX and QQQ. Why? Well, ES was stronger. ES was stronger. Sorry, opposite. ES was weaker, and NQ was stronger. But NQ put in this massive red candle. I was planning on just entering SPX puts, full size position. But then NQ gave this massive candle. I'm like, maybe NQ's actually flipping weak, right? And when I don't know which is strong, which is weak, I go half in both. Spread out my risk a bit. The big PTs were all the way down here, but here's the thing. I have a million. You see how bright green my chart is right here? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have like 5 or 6 demands. No, we have 6. Something like that. I don't know. We have a lot of demand zones. Oh, wait. It's already in 3 demand zones as it's sitting right now. So, yeah, we are in a lot of demand zones. So, this is the grand PT. I don't know if it's going to get there. We'll see how it drops. We start dropping pretty good. Starts off green. Oof. Ugly selling wick. Now keep in mind, we do sweep these pivots down here. This is an indication of a reversal. This is a solid trim point right here, but the buying wick happened too fast. I wasn't able to trim. So I'm still, between both of these positions, I'm half size in each. So between both these trades, I am in one normal size trade. Okay. Same size trade that I was in that first trade. Just spread out a little bit. But this is a huge reversal signal. Look at this candle. We get a volume spike. We swept the pivot. We're in a million demand zones. Bounce out of a bunch of demand zones. This is signaling bullish reversal. This is a problem. And a combination of the buying wicks, the lower lows, the buying wicks, and the demand zones made it really easy to trim when NQ broke low a day again. I trimmed fairly heavy as well on the way down. There it is. Boom. But not going to lie, I also missed a lot of my fills here because it was just so freaking quick. We're getting another lower low with a buying wick. Even more so signaling a reversal. And I typed that in my channel a million times. And we got another lower low. This is where I did the rest of my trimming. Now, at this point, NQ looks like it wants to bounce. NQ's nowhere near any of the next pivots. It's in so many demand zones right now. I mean, it's in... Well, it says 4, but this is just above. It keeps touching like 7 demand zones. We have a tons of lower lows with buying wicks. All the red flags in the world. It's super strong. So I'm not thinking NQ goes down much more. But ES, man, this is my solid PT from my pre-market analysis. And it looks like it's going to get there. So I only trimmed half my position on SPX. But I trimmed 2/3 of my position on QQQ. All right, so keep that in mind. Well, the reversal signals played out, and I was able to stop out of my SPX at break even ish. I was able to stop out early. I stopped out really early into this candle. Looking back on it, I could have stopped on this candle, but here's the problem. Look how much weaker ES was than NQ. Okay, look at this candle that I'm circling on NQ. It's huge. That same candle's a doji on ES. With ES so weak, it was so likely to get that PT that it delayed me from stopping just a little bit. But I did stop really early into this big candle. Just market, just pretty much exited right away. QQQ and SPX. I filled it pretty much where I entered at on SPX. Okay, and my SPX trade, I think the contract. My best trim was like at 40 something percent, but I think I averaged like 25 to I think I averaged like 30% on this trade. But keep in mind it was half size because I filled my other half at break even. So I entered the trade with half size, and half of that was sold at break even, half was green. So it's like a quarter. That's like a 30% win, but it's a quarter of a position size, right? NQ, I did get trims in the green, but I think I only finished QQQ because I stopped out. This last bit was a loss right here. I think I only finished at like plus 5 or 10% overall on the trade. So between the two trades, as far as the dollar wise, and again, Thinkorswim on the monitor tab doesn't show me percents. That's just honestly, I don't know if that's even a setting I can do. I think I've seen people do Thinkorswim percents, but usually it's on the mobile version. I don't do that. But roughly, I lost on a full size trade. I lost 35% on the first one. On this trade, I only gained back about 20, even though I was printing. SPX was up almost 50%. QQQ was up like 30%. I was printing. It was going really well. I was green. But I ended up finishing with this trade still a little red on the day. But at the very start of this candle, I told you guys in my channel and in voice that I think NQ has a good shot to hive day. I mean, we're getting volume spikes at the bottom here. These buying wicks, this demand, this liquidity sweep, even ES. It looks so good, right? It looks so dang good for a bullish reversal. And I end up filling my calls at the end, at the close of this candle. I needed this candle to close bullish, right? So I re-entered calls here. This is the exact same trade I took at the start of the day, but it had even higher odds. Why? Because it swept liquidity. Because the reason I entered this, and hence I went half size, is momentum and it invalidated a majority of this move, right? Well, this trade invalidated a majority of this move, had a bullish liquidity sweep with a perfect bottom. Look at the buying wick, look at the volume spike, look at the demand. We reversed out a very solid demand. We have increasing green volume on this trend. Same thing on ES. Look at this. And even on ES, ES is a lot weaker than NQ. In the volume lesson 2 days ago, we just talked about volume spikes and how they signal reversal. Look, the low of day candle on ES not only has a beautiful buying wick, but a massive volume spike as well. And then what do we have after? Increasing green volume. This is the same trade that I took at the start of the day, but better in every single form, right? And again, the first trade wasn't fantastic because of the selling wick. It's just one of those things where it's like, if the selling wick formed earlier, I probably wouldn't have entered. But sometimes with timing, you're just, we're humans. We're not absolutely perfect. Looking back on this, I had reason to wait for the selling wick to invalidate. But again, I was already filling my trade when the selling wick started forming. It's just how it goes. But anyways, I entered same thing that I did last time, except reversed. Half size SPX calls and half size QQQ calls. PT for ES is at new high of day. That's the closest pivot. I do plan on trimming right when NQ gets new high of day, though. That's my only trim point. But the big NQPT is the supply break. Here. Long story short, ES we consolidated a bit, chopped around, then ES exploded to the upside. Both exploded to the upside. I didn't make much on SPX. At this point, SPX is only up like 15%. And it's annoying because when I entered puts here and we dropped this much, they hit like 50%. But for some reason here, I was only up like 15%. SPX really didn't make me much money. But we end up hitting PT. I trimmed a little bit at NQ new high of day. And I said, if we pull back and invalidate the pullback, I will re-add what I trimmed. Here's the pullback. If a majority of this invalidates, I will re-add what I trimmed. See? This is looking good. We got lower lows buying wicks again. You see a common theme on NQ. On this candle, I started at re-adding what I trimmed on QQQ, which made me some extra money. And PT it. I sold pretty much everything here, except the runner position. Unfortunately, I mean, obviously my percent wins is lower than what it is in my alert channel because I said I was going to add back if it gets here, but once I did, I didn't type that I added more money to it. I never do that, but I'll tell you if I will. So at the PT, QQQ calls got 32% gains again. I probably only averaged like 20 something percent because, like 22%, I think, because my average was higher because I averaged up. SPX calls only got 30% here. But now I was green on the day. I was red by roughly 1 minus 10 to 15% trade at the start of this. And now I'm green on the day by like 1 roughly 25% trade. Not much at all. Because keep in mind, these aren't full-size positions. It's half and half. At the end of the day, I think I was a little bit more than 1 full-size position between the two, but it's pretty much half and half. But I did leave a runner position open, and that did make me a decent amount extra money. I didn't sell until I got an indication of reversal, which is got the higher highs with selling wicks here. I sold on this red candle. The SPX runners got to 70% gains. QQQ runners got 62% gains. Cut off about 20% of that, or 18-ish percent of that, and that's what I sold because, again, I didn't sell the top. I sold right here. But that pretty much had me finish the day at roughly plus 35 to 40% on the day. I'm green by roughly 2 small 20% green trades. So, unfortunately, it was a pretty mild day. And it would have been an incredibly massive green day if a couple things happened. This selling wick formed earlier, and we actually got to my PT here on ES. Those things happened. Would have been an incredibly green day. And it would have even been a red day if, my third trade didn't play out. But as far as the, the trading itself, the first trade is just kind of unfortunate the way the selling wick timed itself. But I thought the trading was fine today. Pretty clean. My typing was like just a couple seconds delayed because I'm running on like 3, maybe 4 hours of sleep. And I'm sick, so I'm not really feeling it. But yeah, I'm content with how we did this morning. I'll always take a green day. We've literally had 1 single red day in the last 5 weeks, and the red day was small. Like, it's been absolutely a blessing. So, but that covers all my trading. Did ES get to, I don't think ES got to the supply break. Let's see. Oh, it got close. So now if it invalidates a majority of this drop, it'll be even more likely to get there. It's a good run though. How many green candles in a row was that? 8 green candles in a row? Oh, wait, did NQ miss? Oh, no, NQ did get new hype day. Okay. But all right, with that being said, does anyone have any questions on any of today's trades or analysis? No, everyone's good? All right, sweet. Well, I will save this recording, post it to YouTube. I will let you guys know when it is done processing. And if you continue trading, good luck. Let me know if you guys need anything, and I will see you guys later for all the things we have planned today.